Hi, this is truly Jacob a writer. This is my pen, writing, and media name only, so you probably won't see my face. Today, I'm going to go over some moral lessons that I got from reading The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. So, the first one is The Chronicles of Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. I started reading it February 16, 2024, and I finished it officially today, March 30, 2024. So it took me over a month to read, but again, I wasn't reading it all the way straight through or anything. And I think initially I did try to reach out to HarperCollins Children's Books to get permission to review the book and stuff like that. No one's got a hold of me. At this point, if I review other books, I'm just gonna put the copyright information in the description so you know that I am sometimes maybe quoting from the book or I'm paraphrase or summarizing the book. So what I got from the first chapter with C.S. Lewis is that he is setting the scene and he is connecting different stories or different, what's the word I'm looking for? Lands. So if someone else wrote a story, he's connecting that story to his story and be like, hey, in this story, because he mentions Mr. Sherlock Holmes lived on Baker Street in London, he's connecting the whole Sherlock stories to be like, this is where Polly and Digory lived, who were children in this particular book. This is where they lived. They lived in London, or Digory was technically visiting London. But this is the world that they lived in, was in the Sherlock Holmes series. So what I'm also getting from that, because he was referencing this book series, is he probably C.S. Lewis probably actually knew the author somehow that wrote the Sherlock Holmes. He also referenced The Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, 1881. So he possibly knew that person too. Also, from reading some of his book, I have watched a movie about C.S. Lewis. I don't remember who it was produced by, but it was like an acting movie that talked about his life and stuff like that. But I was looking up online. I don't remember the references. One of the references could have been Wikipedia. It could have been something else. But because I don't remember, because it was online and I didn't write it down. But I was trying to understand, because I heard he had a religious background. What is his background, or what kind of Bible did he read from? And so C.S. Lewis was a member of the Church of England. And I was like, so what Bible does the Church of England use? And I looked online and it was saying they use the King James Version Bible or the AV Bible version of the Bible. And I was like, what is the AV version of the Bible? And I looked it up on Amazon, and it's the original King James Version of the Bible that has the Apocrypha. So because if you just buy King James versions of the Bible now, they have taken the Apocrypha out, and the AV version has the Apocrypha in it. So at some point, I'm interested in possibly buying that Bible to be like, okay, this is the King James Version, probably C.S. Lewis used. Who knows? Anyways, because I don't know maybe I need to read a biography of C.S. Lewis at some point to be like, this is the Bible he read on a regular basis. So we will see. Anyways, so like the summary of the story is basically Digory's uncle had a godmother, and his godmother turned out was some kind of fairy that understood magic and stuff like that. And it sounded like she burnt all her magical items, but she specifically told the uncle to bury everything in the backyard. He disobeyed. He didn't think it was important. He went into a scientific mode where he's trying to understand magic and science, and somehow turned himself into a magician scientist kind of thing. And somehow he figured out how to make these rings that could transport you to another world, but he was too scared to go to the other world himself and try it on himself. So he kept testing them on guinea pigs. And like eventually, like Polly and Digory, like they did become friends. Like Digory was staying with his uncle and his aunt, and his uncle and his aunt were brother and sister, living in the same house, both single. And his mother was sick and his father was in India. And so like Polly was the next door neighbor in London, and he preferred living in the country with all of his animals and everything and being outdoorsy. So he didn't really like it, but him and Polly ended up playing every day together, and they started exploring different areas, and then they figured out a different way how to get into his uncle's study, and his uncle showed him the rings, and he basically forced their hand to use the rings, and they figured out how to go to another world and stuff like that. And then they figured out that one ring made it so you could go to other worlds, and then one ring made you so you could go back or something like that. I forget exactly how the rings worked, but then they ended up in the land of Churn or whatever, and Polly was trying to use reason and logic and common sense and be like, maybe we should go because there's this message that says, don't ring the bell. And Digory was tempted and overcome by temptation, and so he rang the bell and he woke the witch up, and then the witch went to the wooded area, and she hated it because there was no evil or wickedness in there. And then she followed Digory and Polly to their world, which was London, in the land of oh gosh, I already forgot. What's it called? Yeah, Sherlock Holmes. Sorry, Sherlock Holmes. And so they, yeah. So, and then she was creating problems, and she's like, I'm gonna become queen and rule this land and everything. And they just thought she was insane, but she did have like some kind of power, but the power was lessened because there wasn't hardcore magic in the Sherlock Holmes world of London and the surrounding areas or whatever. But somehow they ended up getting her back to the wooded area, and then they ended up in Narnia, and it created a like bad environment. But Aslan the lion came, and he, what's the word I'm looking for? He sang like notes or words out of his mouth, and he created the land of Narnia. But his intention was to create this place where only happiness and joy and peace and love and and there was all sorts of creatures that he created. And he said there could be dumb beasts, and there could be talking beasts, and if you act dumb for too long or something, you could go back to being a dumb beast or something in the future. So the land got set up and everything like that. And so Aslan, like just by looking at Aslan, it's like Digory knew he did wrong by like releasing the witch. But Aslan was like, what's it called? Was nice and was like, do you want to redeem yourself, Digory? And so he's like, yeah. And so Digory, Polly, and a horse that turned into a flying horse, they went to this other land to pick an apple, and he was tempted again to do something that he shouldn't, but this time he like reasoned it out, and so he was able to pick the apple for Narnia because the lion said that the tree would protect the land for like tons of years while it lasted or whatever. So but there was a warning: don't eat this apple, don't steal this apple, because if you steal it, it will be bad for you in some way. But the evil queen was there eating the apples and stealing the apples and trying to convince Digory to do the same thing. But Polly was there and was able to say something that was like, it helped him get a clear mind, and he came out of it like, no, I don't want to do that. And so Digory was like, we need to go, run, and they got on the horse and they flew back to the land of Narnia, because there was different sections of land, and the lion named them for all the talking animals and everyone, and there was a king and queen that came from the Sherlock Holmes area land, London. And they were made king and queen, and they had sons and daughters, and they married and stuff like that. And Digory was able to give that apple to the Narnians, and he was able to throw it, and it grew, and it became a train like almost instantaneously, or relatively fast it grew. And then he was allowed to go pick an apple for his mother to heal his mother. And yeah, so what else? So this is kind of like the summary. So yeah, he picked the apple and they went back home, and Aslan took them to the wooded area, and they didn't need rings to go back. And Digory gave the apple to his mother, and she was healed, and the doctor came, and the doctor was like, this is a miracle. I've never seen this in all my years. So it sounded like from the description of what was going on in the book that she was really bad off. But with the conversation with Aslan was like, they ended up talking about the witch and how the witch tempted them and everything like that. And Aslan told them clearly, if you had taken that apple for yourself, it would have like caused like you to have seeds of evilness and wickedness in your heart, is basically what I was getting from the context of the story. And it would have given you power and strength, or maybe even smartness, like the desire of your heart. But like eventually it would grow, and like your loving, happy personality would be completely gone. But he was also saying, if you had given it to your mother and taken it for your mother, because it's the way Aslan made it sound, it's like there's a time to eat it. You have to know when to eat it. You have to know how to like take it for someone else and have that person take it for you. So there's like a proper time of giving and taking or receiving it, so that it only gives you happiness and joy in your life. So but Aslan was particularly saying, with the way this silver apple tree of life thing was designed, is that someone else has to pluck it from the tree, grab it, and plant it for you or give it to you, and you're only allowed to eat that one. And so because Digory was from a different land and he plucked it from that tree, it made it so it would produce happiness and love and joy for the Narnians for like hundreds and hundreds of years, as long as the tree lasted. So Digory's mother, she was able to eat that apple from the tree that was planted in Narnia. And Aslan gave him permission, and the Narnians gave him permission to go pick. It's okay, pick an apple. And that one in the land of Sherlock Holmes, that apple healed the mother with no dire side effects. But Aslan said, if you had taken the apple from the tree of the north and brought it to your land, you did not have permission to do that. It wasn't the time, it wasn't the place. So if your mother had eaten it, it would have caused her to give her like the desire of her heart, and if there was any like wickedness or evil desires of her heart, it would have given the mother that, and they would have gotten to the point where they realized at some point it would have been better for the illness to kill me than to eat this apple that I wasn't supposed to have. So Digory did the right thing. He got out of like the temptation, and he gave the right apple to his mother, and he was rewarded because what's the word I'm trying to say? He was rewarded because he obeyed Aslan's guidance. So and Aslan also told Polly and Digory, like, take the rings that your Digory's uncle made, and make sure you bury it in the yard where no one knows where they are. And so they did that. They heeded the advice. So the uncle, because he didn't listen to his fairy godmother's advice or instructions, this is what I need you to do with this after I die, it caused a witch to be released in the land of Narnia. If the uncle had initially listened to his elders' advice, or that had more wisdom and understanding about magic and things, like, that would have never happened. Digory and Polly would have never ended up in that world. So luckily, because of the uncle, like, Digory realized that the actions of his uncle were not good, and he didn't like that. His uncle was even experimenting on guinea pigs and different animals and stuff, and putting rings on them and be like, are you gonna come back, and stuff like that. And like, his uncle initially had forced Polly to go without a ring to come back, and then he made Digory go with like 2 rings, like one for Polly and one for himself, to like get them to come back. And so like, he realized very quickly his uncle was not a good guy, and he was like really disappointed in his uncle and stuff like that. His uncle lost Digory's respect or whatever. So it shows you sometimes, like, even in your own family doesn't mean like everyone's good. You can't always like trust your own family and stuff like that. So but like, so you have the morals that I'm basically getting out of this one is like, goes through principles that are in the King James Version Bible. Have not read the AV Bible yet to know if they're 100% the same or whatever. But basically, it's like, respect your elders. If your elders demonstrate that they have wisdom, respect your elders, you know. obey their instructions, especially if someone is demonstrating that they are wise, because they're telling you to do something for a good reason. So that is one moral lesson. The other is, when you're on your own, use reason, logic, and common sense to try to work through situations to be like, is this really a good idea? Should I do this? Should I not do this? I think those are pretty much the two lessons that I got out of it. But when I finally finished the end of this book, this is spoilers, is for some reason I skim read the first time I read through this book when I was a teenager in high school, and like I did not fully comprehend the end, that the tree that, so because the apple core was planted in the backyard, so it was like Digory was going the extra mile, and he was like, okay, we have to plant the rings in the dirt or whatever. So he planted the apple core in the dirt, and it already started to grow, not as fast as like the Narnia tree did in the land of Narnia, but it started growing. And so it's like that tree was somehow connected to the tree in Narnia. So it's like when the tree in Narnia like died and fell over because of drastic wind, it was like, it's like the tree in the Sherlock Holmes land of London and the surrounding areas, that tree fell over too. But he didn't just want to use the wood for fire, so he made a wardrobe out of it. So it was like setting up for the next book that is about to come, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And it was saying like how the trees were connected to each other, and the tree in the Sherlock Holmes environment, London area, like it remembered that it came from the tree of Narnia or something like that. So if there wasn't wind blowing in the land where Polly and Digory were from, if the wind was blowing in Narnia, the tree would actually blow in Digory and Polly's land and environment. So that was really, really interesting to me, because it's like I missed that information. There was like a lot of details and stuff like I didn't get the first time around. It was much more fascinating. But like in the end, like it was like, if someone's trying to tempt you to do something that you shouldn't, and use logic, reason, and common sense to try to be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this thing. You need to think on the spot in the moment to get out of that tough situation. So for some reason, if parents find this channel, I'm making it for adults. These videos for adults or parents, and like I wish my parents had read stories with me, and then after we read a story, it was like, ask me the question, so what moral lessons can you get out of this story? So parents or adults or whoever is able to watch this video, have you ever read the Chronicles of Narnia series? Have you ever read The Magician's Nephew? Are there any moral lessons or morals that you got out of this book that I am missing? Maybe you have got something out of it completely different than me. So what did you get out what moral lessons did you get out? What moral lessons did you learn from reading this book? Feel free to put that in the comment section below. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time. So yes, I will be going through the whole Chronicles of Narnia series, but it will take a while because it took over a month to read this one. So until next time.